I'm very proud to welcome our two speakers from the EUPRIO network. It's Paolo Pomati from Italy and Menno Kramer from the Netherlands. And they both will share some insights on their work on how to bind and how to find freshmen at their universities. As you all remember, Italy was a region really strongly affected by the coronavirus. And so it's very, very interesting to hear from Paolo how he organized his work at the university. Paolo is Director of Communications at the University of Piemonte Orientale. It's a university situated in the northwest of Italy, and it's a university with 50,000 students. Paolo is a professional journalist and writer, and he works at the university for 25 years. He published many books and is frequently hired to teach communication for various institutions. And some of you may know Paolo because he has been the president of our European communications network called EUPRIO. Our second speaker, Menno, works at the University of Utrecht, like Nicolette, you may have met yesterday in a session with Marita. Menno Kramer works in the Central Communication Department, and he's responsible for recruitment and communication with prospective international students. His team guides the international students through the process of choosing a program, the admissions, and their first days at the university. And Menno also is very experienced. Before starting at Utrecht University, he worked for 13 years for other Dutch universities. And both of them prepared a presentation. And this presentation you will find afterwards on the website of our national association, if they agree. And our first speaker will be Paolo. So Paolo, the floor is yours.
Dankeschön, Kerstin. Vielen Dank für deine freundliche Einladung. Freut mich, bei Ihrer deutschen Konferenz zu sein. Ich habe während meiner Präsidentschaft von EUPRIO so viele liebe Freunde gesammelt. Ich hoffe, dass jetzt viele miteinander verbunden sind. But now let's switch to English. It could sound better and I will feel more comfortable with the pronunciation. I'm just uploading my presentation, and as you can see, I will, this is the first page of the presentation and the first slide. I share with Menno Kramer the same issue to discuss about, that is finding and binding freshmen in Corona times. You know, no doubt, COVID lockdown was a life-changing incident. We all, dear colleagues, have completely converted our usual way of working almost overnight. We crashed into this hectic 24/7 activity, and more or less, we behaved in the same way all over the world. Now, we had and still have to cope with dozens of matters and problems, sanitary issues, classes, research activities, training experiences, public engagement, mobility setbacks, exams, graduation session, information, bureaucracy, and so on, so on, so on. Did we play it well? Posterity will judge, as Alessandro Manzoni writes, commenting on Emperor Napoleon's life. Looking at the experience of my own university, I dare to say that we have been performantly sustainable. Let's consider these facts and figures. We didn't miss a single class or exam. We graduated 2,040 students online. On the 27th of April 2020, the Minister of University, the Italian Minister of University, Gaetano Manfredi, stated, universities risk the collapse of students, and we are afraid that the 20% of high school students will not enroll. We were very close to panic, to just fronting this statement. But we put in place every possible measure to avoid this danger. And today, I can happily report you that the number of freshmen is exactly the same of the last academic year, 4,200 students. We didn't lose a single one. Now, let me divide this hectic 2020 in three major and meaningful periods. The very first one coincides with the COVID outbreak in Italy. That was so from February to May 2020. The global mood, I think all over the world, but in Italy in particular, global mood was fear. Zygmunt Bauman says, the fear is more terrible when it is diffuse, dispersed, not very clear. When it floats freely elsewhere without bonds, anchors, home, or a clear coast. Fear and anxiety about this new disease and about what could happen were causing stress and strong emotions in our students, their families, in high school students as well. During these months, we had the chance to enter the homes of the houses of students without knocking on the door. So we snooped on their living rooms, kitchens. We waved their parents. We glanced at their bookshelves. We found out many parallel universes that had to be inquired. Our most concern was to remain inclusive and to break down all the inequalities that could frustrate our students. And I really shall admit that we haven't left them alone for a single minute. We allowed extra meetings. We wrote long, encouraging emails. We kept them motivated. We learned about unexpected financial difficulties, and we split up the remaining annual fees to very small installments. We involved the Alumni Association to rake donations, and they did. They collected more than 110,000 euros and issued extra grants for not having to withdraw from studies. We were bombed by news, by fake news, by figures, by statements and counter declarations. We had to guarantee the immaculacy of information. We started to ponder every single word to create simple and linear, direct text without any scientific or bureaucratic jargon, to care about their readability and intelligibility, and to customize them to various formats, emails, posts, tweets, captions, news, announcements, videos, tutorials, so on. We checked all possible sources to avoid the danger of giving improper information. Concerning the search of freshmen, we built up an impressive online recruitment campaign. We set up this Open Online, a web platform where we placed 46 videos and as many presentations. They got over 20,000 visualizations. We rounded 50 video conferences and counseled more than 1,000 prospective students. We collected a team of current students and staff to answer phone calls. Yes, my friends, the good old blessed telephone. Look at the number, 7,500 calls in 4 months. Because these students had to be encouraged by a human, by a warm, soothing voice. I urged my team to debride. I'm sorry, I cannot fix the presentation. Okay. Oh, la. Sorry. Okay. So I urged my team to debride their empathy, to see the world through the other's eyes. They did a fantastic job. They listened rather than talking. They showed concern. They paid attention to any needs. John Steinbeck wrote, "You can only understand people if you feel them in yourself." On the side of public engagement and research, we opened a biobank that will keep up to 1 million biological samples, and 46 research projects have been kicked off to study the problem of coronavirus in all its complexity. Our surgeons, nurses, medicine interns all have been pulled into emergency rooms and intensive care wards in hospital. The whole academic community took steps to provide help. We created a website to feed useful ideas to relieve the lockdown side effects. For example, we launched our weekly EUPRIO talk with cultural webinars, roundtables, fitness training. We invented an app to check if there is a queue at the chemist's or at the supermarket, and a hotline for patients as well. We provided all we could do. And to be honest, again, we used empathy. Our landscape, this is a current picture, is still sketched by houses crammed by secluded people, by empty streets patrolled by policemen, closed schools, red zones, isolated cities and villages, homebound workers. Empathy will cure us of fear, and probably in a very short time, we will return to hug each other. The second period had a better mood, actually. In fact, in June, September, infections were decreasing, and we thought that coronavirus could disappear quickly. It was the time of hope. Hoffnung ist in Sturmacht Morgenröte. Johann Wolfgang Goethe. We still couldn't organize public events, but we felt it compulsory to celebrate our graduates. We couldn't toss the caps in the main square as we usually do at the end of the academic year, but what we did was to split the graduation day into dozens of graduation days, live streaming on YouTube. We created an etiquette on the basis of what we have as usual events etiquette. As graduates cannot gather at university campus, we suggested them to collect in their living rooms with the people they love. And then, as they cannot parade in the streets, we set up a grid view so that every candidate could have an audience and wave it. The rector starts the meeting with a sort of an inspirational speech, and then gives floor to the candidates who present their final dissertation. At the end, the dean or the rector himself pronounces the ritual proclamation as dottore, exactly as the rector gives the diploma in presence. Grads cannot toss the caps, actually. So we asked them to put a laurel wreath on the heads. And it's done. Let's celebrate with toasts and candies as in traditional graduation day. And this celebration goes on Facebook and Instagram, where we post the highlights of the session and encourage the new graduates to share their own pictures and videos. Well, my friends, it has nothing to do with the spectacularity of the graduation day in present, but it works. Graduates are very happy. They grasp the feeling of community. They party together. We used these sessions to encourage freshmen. We started to bind them to our university, to create familiarity, to envisage that there is a bright future, not only the eerie days of coronavirus. Now, if you are really sympathetic and empathic, what would you do? You share. So any story is best when shared. Nothing is yours, it is to use. Only when shared, everything takes a sense. But our good injection of optimism was smashed down by the recrudescence of the virus. And again, the distressing story. Universities have closed, online classes and exams, no idea of the end. Yes, my colleagues, this is the current period. And now the mood turned to anger. Freshmen had started their classes in presence, but then they had to go back to e-learning without any possibility to socialize and to share comments and emotions in person. So this caused a mood of frustration, which turned to anger because they felt betrayed. They found serious setbacks to achieving their goals, and they perceived a damage to their academic career. We started getting negative comments to our posts on social media for no specific reason. We got some polemical replies to our informative emails. Our sentiment and reputation started to slow down. No panic, though. We realized that the only tool that we had was to change this course was to be absolutely assertive. We applied the integrative cognitive model of anger that has been implemented by Benjamin Wilkowski and Michael Robinson, adapting this model to our ways of communication. And I dare say it was a state of mind rather than a communication tool. We tried to dominate our immediate reactions, even though public comments were growing up. We didn't take the hostile intent for granted and didn't fall into the temptation to ruminate on hostile thoughts, as it would only prolong and intensify angry emotional states. We did any effort to take a non-judgmental attitude, to avoid lowering the anger level at all costs, not to take commands personally, to show appreciation, to say no, and to express disagreement in a calm and soft way, to be kindly persistent. We also applied the principle of charitable interpretation that was implemented by Donald Davidson, which consists of interpreting our interlocutor statements in the most rational way possible and of considering the best and strongest possible solution, which can satisfy both. We make maximum sense of the words and thoughts of others when we interpret in a way that optimizes agreement. We also used what the Norwegian ethnologist Uni we can consider as resonance, which is shared human experience, notice of feelings and thoughts embedded within social interaction. Uni Wicken writes, in the will to comprehend, by digging into the wellsprings of ourselves, lies the hope for enhanced human solidarity. Did it work? Believe me, it did. In the space of a week, the sentiment turned positive again. So we could move easily to broader goals. For example, to foster public trust, to recall civil liberties, to give voice to the invisible, to the forgotten, to the disadvantaged, with sobriety, with relevance, with credibility. Probably some of you may remember this last slide. I used these 3 words as my personal motto when I took the office of president of EUPRIO in Stavanger, Norway, 2008. Care, share and dare. Kümmern, teilen und wagen. I couldn't believe that this EUPRIO experience could have a tail in an eerie pandemic situation. We have to cope with troubles and worries. We must tell thoughts, feelings, and experiences with others. We should open our minds, our bold wishes, ideas, and suggestions. I'm sure that we will get through this, my dear friends. Gut, packen wir's an. And thank you very much. Herzlichen Dank.